We're live. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And you will see my glamorous guests that are with
Well, you've got one glamorous guest, and you've got me.
Oh, you're always glamorous. What are you talking about?
Indeed, with those lovely kind of blue glasses there. But iconic. You have a bold, iconic look. So here, up to this side here, we can see Dr. Lena Rodriguez, and understand.
Yeah. The shades are too cool for school. They are great.
So Lena's joining us live her Sunday morning, 10 a.m. I think for you, isn't it, Lena?
Yes, it's quite civilized.
Indeed, not too bad. And of course, down below, we have the chic chanteuse in front of us. And which character are you today, Lady G?
Oh, of course, Miss Kitty Cat Target.
Miss Kitty Cat Target likes to get out and about.
She does, you know.
It's fabulous. So today we've got an action-packed show for you guys, as always. So we're going to be covering different things. We're going to be talking, let's see, we're going to be talking seaweed. Yeah, we're going to be opening with one of those stories because that's an important one. We're going to be ending, as I like to say on this show, save the worst for last. So of course we're going to be talking about Duck L'Orange and all of that kind of stuff. Going to give them a little bit of extra time and some bits and bobs in the middle. So I'll just quickly say, of course, if you guys enjoy the content here, then please don't forget to either like or subscribe. And of course, to the ladies' channels as well, who are in the video description below. We really love coming together every Saturday and putting on this show for you. Thanks to everyone who's joining us already. The chat is kicking off already. And let's see, anything else to add, ladies, before we start? Anything I may have missed? No,
let's go.
Well, let's go for it. Okay, so folks, let's talk about seaweed. Now, before we get into the details about the seaweed, let me do a little bit astrological weather. Now, you remember I've been saying Neptune, co-ruler of Pisces, god of the sea, entered sidereal Pisces on February 22nd, 2023. And do you remember I've been saying to everyone, we're going to be talking about the oceans, the seas, big debates, stuff like that. Neptune is going to be in the ocean in Pisces for the next 14 years. This is our window of opportunity.
14 or 40?
14 years. Yeah, 13 to 14 years, because that's how long he spends in each sign. So now this is now a focus for humanity to focus on our oceans and all things water related, rivers, seas, oceans. Look, the Dead Sea is dying. Salt Lake City is starting to dry up. All things to do with ocean, even hurricanes, etc., all this stuff. But the point is this: there is a seaweed plume on its way to the coast of Florida and the Gulf of Mexico, and this plume is as wide as America. Can you believe it?
Wide.
Yeah, they're saying it's 5
miles
wide. Yeah. What's Pisces all about? Expansion. Yeah, Jupiter is there. Expansion. I said there'd be big things. Yeah. Look at that. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than that. So what else? So it's been clogging up beaches, and they're in the Caribbean. They're having to get truckloads to come in and bury it or burn it. It's just causing all of these problems, and it's due to climate change. Yeah, the water's changing. So what I've put here, what impacts will this have in terms of climate change and that kind of stuff? What impacts will this giant bloom have?
Okay. And of course, point to note, healthy seaweed is a marvelous thing that keeps the whole chain of biology ticking over. This is not a healthy seaweed moment.
No. And it's mahoosic.
In Australia last night, one of our main rivers, the Murray River, close to the ocean, it's been getting smaller and smaller because of climate change, but there's been this fish death thing, and I've never seen anything like it in my life, and I'm a country girl. You can't even see the water. It is just dead fish. They flew over it, meaning the water can't get to the ocean to flush it out. So this is all this Neptunian stuff.
Absolutely. And what happens is part of the reason why the fish dies, sadly, is when you have these bacterial or seaweed blooms due to the increased heat, what they do is they take oxygen out of the water and the fishes basically suffocate.
That's exactly what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. And they say this could happen with this giant bloom as well. My goodness.
Okay.
So
let's have a look here.
Yes, Neptune already expressing his discontent already.
Expressing.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Shall I go, Hoagie?
Go for it.
Yeah, okay. It's sort of, I'm liking this sort of concept of the red bloom representing the GOP, right? It's coming to mind here, you know, the red wall of horror and filth. Okay. Strategies. There haven't been any. So look, this is the hermit, out of sight, out of mind, looking at the sea for a plan but not acting, because no one in the GOP believes in science, so they're just going to wait for it to happen. They don't know what to do. They have no clue how to handle it as a chronic issue right now or beyond. No clue. I think this is going to, this alone is not going to kill DeSantis off, but it's another sword, you know, in the picture. It's also another sword in the GOP's lack of regulations and protections. And then I pulled a couple of extra cards. The ecology is sick around the Gulf for all sorts of reasons. And this is another episode in the story. This is the next episode in the environmental saga. There we go. No real surprises, I suppose.
Indeed. And Lady G, what do you have?
Well, going into it, you know, this is all about the water. The issue is controlling, because we have the bloom underneath of it, and above it, we need to find a direction, which way to go with this. This is something that needs to be worked on when it comes to our oceans and our critters that are there. And this is like the grindstone, and it's also like the wheel of fortune. You know, the karmic wheel is turning, and now we have to deal with it. At the center of it, we need to temper things, and we need to look at the dark, have those darker conversations. And it needs to be also coming from government. It's timing that we need to get behind this and temper things. The challenge is they've tried to get away with things too long, and they need to really put their minds together, because this is going to affect the fish, and we need to make some new legislation. I'll get the word out. Yeah. And the clarification is this is something that we need to take action on soon, because we are sacrificing our oceans and things. And this is kind of a fly in the ointment, if you will. So we need to really look at this and putting a handle on it and putting forward some legislation that's actually going to do something.
Yeah, definitely that time's come. In the comments, someone has mentioned, Mercury Angel has said, I heard Bill Maher say that the ocean is woke, according to DeSantis, because because who taught what to those school of fish? That's quite interesting. I don't know if that's a perfect quote there, but it's really
but I like the idea.
Indeed. And Barbara Odom has said here, I'll just click this one up here just briefly. Said we've had a red tide near Seattle, can't eat seafood. Yeah, so there's going to be consequences, obviously, for this kind of thing. And it's very interesting with the cards that I've got that have come up. So for me, look, here we are, 5 of Pentacles. So look, straight off the bat, look, very often, of course, we talk about, don't we? We talk about the land, we talk about agriculture, we talk about farming, and we forget that so much of our food comes from the sea, from the ocean, seafood, marine life, the whole shebang. There are many nations where the majority of their food is fish. But what imagine our lives without fish. Squid, calamari, crab, blah, blah, it is hugely important. And here with the 5 of Pentacles, which is, being out in the cold and stuff like that, this is also going to be to an extent where people aren't going to be able to use the beaches as they would normally like on that practical level. It's already happening in the Caribbean, where they are frantically trying to get rid of this seaweed so it doesn't kill the tourist industry. Yeah, because obviously you can't lay on the beach and sun yourself if you're covered in kind of toxic seaweed goop. Yeah, doesn't happen. But I think this is also speaking about the potential danger of impoverishment we all face as humanity if we don't sort this out. It's too important.
Yeah.
Here, in what is technically my obstacle position, is fertile new beginnings, new ideas, fresh ideas, etc. But the irony is, we've been talking about the seas and stuff like ad nauseum now for decades, haven't we? I mean, I remember when I was a kid at school and the seas were an issue then. And, I'm much older now. Yeah. So it's almost like we need to allow, there's almost like a block on these fresh ideas. I can't remember what he's called, but I was watching Pam Gregory the other day, Western astrologer. Everyone pretty much knows who she is. And she was talking about this 18-year-old that has found, or 19-year-old who's found this way to clean up 90% of the plastic in the ocean. So the ideas are there. Why aren't they being implemented? It's in nobody's interest to have the sea polluted, because no one owns those kind of oceans anyway, and there's no one's managed to find a way to monetize it. So it's not like some billionaire is blocking the cleanup of the oceans because it's connected with some profit. It's like we all lose. Let's just clean them up. Yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. But look, maybe there's a more optimistic note here. 5 of Wands. So maybe there's a victory coming forward. What this will do is this. For all of those people out there that still don't believe in climate change, when you're on your Florida beach or your DeSantis beach or whatever, and it is a mile high with stinking, rotting seaweed, which has the width of America, so it means it's not going to stop anytime soon. They say
it'll be in the Carolinas and everywhere.
Yeah, the Carolinas everywhere. It's going to be undeniable. Yeah, undeniable. So maybe this might be a victory for marine progress and stuff like that. Look, I've got the 4 of Wands that's come back again. Oh my God, it's like I'm haunted by this card every week. But let's see it as this could also affect what? Real estate in Florida. Exactly. And real estate on the Gulf of Mexico. This is my real estate card. And of course it deals with, things like White House and stuff like that. So, this is going to get people chattering. And then we've got the Page of Swords coming forward. And this, of course, pages are all about messages. Swords deal with the mind, intellect. But this is really almost like the journalism and the scientists and climate people just really coming out and just saying, look, we need to change. Anything you would like to add to that, ladies?
Oh, the minute you started pulling them, I was sitting there. Oh, my God, waterfront property.
Mm-hmm.
Need to take a vacation for their waterfront property.
Imagine if you're right up there on the sea and you've got a seaweed plume coming in that is as wide as America. Let's think about that. That means when you go and clear it with your trucks one day, Within hours, it's replaced. And that means
Yes.
weeks and weeks and weeks, months and months of trying to deal stuff with this stuff as it flows in with the width of the whole of the United States. So waterfront
What's
property.
it going to do to the boating industries and things as well? Different.
Absolutely. Water sports, boating, because you can't fight something that big. And that's why I was saying this thing with Neptune. That's why I said we're going to be talking about the oceans, the seas. Neptune is a very expansive planet. So is Jupiter. They're both together in sidereal Pisces right now.
And there have to be more international laws regarding the ocean, like drift net fishing in Australia, in Alaska, everywhere. It takes everything off the ocean floor, takes it with it. We've got to the plastic particles in the water, etc.
Indeed, all of it. And it's affecting the eco balance, because when so many fish are being taken out, these are the fish that would normally keep these blooms under control because they'd be eating it. Yeah. So if they're not around to eat the stuff, and then you get
it gets out of control.
Gets completely out of control. And now you can't argue. No one can argue with a floating body of seaweed that is as wide as America. Do you know what I mean?
And also the stench. And this is going to impact. Sandy Delia says, did you hear about the waterfront houses falling into the ocean in Rodanthe, North Carolina? No. More.
Wow. Well, that would explain that Four of Wands card. So that's why I said real estate. For me, that is that real estate card. And it's going to affect that. And that's going to be things like that start waking people up. When your property suddenly plunges in value, that seems to be the thing that wakes people up. I'm not saying people aren't aware of it, but for the rusted on diehards that believe climate change is just a fantasy, once you've dealt with this for the next several months, I think the views will be different, particularly with DeSantis. We'll have to see, who seems to think anyway, whatever.
They're losing properties in California too.
Wow.
Oceanside properties are all.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's going to become a bigger and bigger theme.
Yeah.
Anything else to add to that, ladies, before we move on?
Well, 85% of Australians live on or near the coast. Just saying. Moving on.
Wow. I mean, that's a big deal, isn't it? Okay, let's get to the next question. Okay, here we are. So number 2. Now this is to do with China out on the global stage. Now I've already done a video about this, where I look at the American dollar. Will it remain the reserve currency? But at the moment, for those of you that may or may not know, China has basically brokered a peace deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Now, this is quite a coup. Yeah, no one really saw this coming. And
sorry, I did a video on this a year and a half ago.
Oh,
China.
Pardon?
But it's taken a while for the rest of the world to catch up.
There we are. Now,
always front line.
Oh, indeed. Now, this is a very interesting dynamic that has emerged. And one of the arguments that I made, and I'm sure maybe the ladies, you'll have your own viewpoint. China, as I said, China and America, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's charts are all being activated at the same time. And do you remember, I've been going on about it for ages, haven't I? I've been saying things to do with China and stuff is going to become more prominent in the news. They've done this deal. One of my perspectives is that part of this is to try and rehabilitate their international reputation. No one's complaining about peace in the Middle East. Of course not. We'll see how long it lasts. But I also see what is also emerging is, in terms of the theory of the lab leak, shall we say, is being more and more talked about. I don't know if you guys watched Amanpour today.
She's
but
Christine Amanpour.
Yeah, they had a guy on the show. Let me just, he's called Jamie Metzel, and he's a geopolitical analyst, and he's been talking about the whole lab leak theory for ages now, but now people are starting to join the dots. So my thing is that, is this a balancing act where China needs to improve its reputation and its influence globally, maybe to counteract more negative news that could be on the way. So the question is, going back to it, is trying to become peacemaker to offset maybe more negative stuff that could be coming down the pike. How about that?
Yeah, okay. Well, let's just say what's China's aim here? You know?
Yeah. What's the aim? What's the aim? What's the energy around it? Not that we're complaining about peace in the Middle East, of course not. We'll see how long it lasts, you know, and that's a positive step.
Well, it hasn't happened yet.
Oh, has it not happened
Not if
yet?
you're Palestinian, no? It hasn't happened yet. It's
yeah, sorry. In terms of the
notion
Middle East, of course. Indeed.
Okay. Now, just while we're shuffling, I think there's a bit of a time delay in the West, understanding what has already happened with the petrodollar. Mm-hmm. So traditionally, the petrodollar, Saudi Arabia, the US, you know, in close cahoots, and the petrodollar was measured in relation to the US dollar. Now, when the US and everyone else in the West put heavy sanctions on Iran a long time ago, they are oil producers. They had to sell their oil. China came in then, this is 15 years ago or something, and bought their oil and allowed the yen or the yuan to be used instead of the US pegged petrodollar. It's already a done deal. It's been happening for 15 years. And our economists in the West are going, you know, I wonder if that'll happen. It's a done deal. So
You're
China grew
right,
a lot
Lena.
of power then. So I think we should, why I'm saying that is I think we should, in this question, look further.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's one of these things, it's kind of like a sleeping giant. And I remember when I made this video, some people in the comments, perfectly innocently, they were like, but why would anyone not want to use the dollar anymore and stuff like that? And it's like, stuff has been happening for a long time. And it's my personal belief that, well, it's not even a belief, that China has made its intentions clear that it would like to become the global default currency, the yuan. It's just saying. Who's ready to go?
Lady G, are you ready?
Okay. Well, going into it, you know, trying to move forward and thinking about, with the barbed wire in their head, strengthening some positions somewhere. They're looking at possibly in the center of it, staving off some things is what it feels like. And because they feel like rather than be tied up, like we're sort of in a free fall mentation at the moment. So they're trying to find lovers, people that they can, you know, get closer to work with.
Lena, what do you have for us?
Well, the cards are very interesting, really. So the world, this does affect everybody, right? So China, I think, has been operating on several levels simultaneously, like they've been going throughout Africa, Latin America, the Pacific, to tiny nations, building roads and hospitals, but buying their votes on the international stage, right? So that's this compromise, small money stuff comparatively. Then the big money stuff, this is the legacy card, but it's legacy coming down and the legacy they want to leave. So this is the much bigger bickies. So with China's thinking the Belt and Road, what's that expression they're using for their long-term? They've got a long-term strategy, unlike the rest of us, right? So it's building towards this bigger thing, because with enormous wealth comes enormous power. So they're a bit conflicted at the moment, and I think the West is very conflicted at the moment, how to deal with China. And they're just taking the blows and watching. So the West used to act in unison, the US, now that's breaking up a bit. There's more conflict about how to keep China in check, which is the Western aim. And for China, it's how to expand.
Exactly.
So it's all about expansion.
Fascinating. So I just want to check. You're finished with your cards, Lena? Yeah. I wanted to check. Yeah, this thing is, and it may or may not be a surprise to the audience watching, because of course there's been so much that's been happening politically over the last few years, particularly since Duc Larange has been in power. But what we also have to understand is that China as a nation has a much more longer term view. You know how our politics here is very sticking plaster, get through the next cycle type thing. China doesn't think in that way. I mean, I think they slipped up a little bit on the one-child policy, oops, they're not going to be able to replace much of their population. But in general, they will look to short, medium, and longer term. They've been on the charm offensive for a while. Now, you guys saw me shuffling the cards, and I've laid out my cards, and out of 5, 3 of them have repeated. It's astonishing. Yeah, it's just astonishing. So here's the Page of Swords back. And in many ways, I think this is also representing the energy, the psychic energy of China. Yeah. This is a youthful and sprightly card. It deals with speed, swiftness, and incisiveness as well. It's not just about messages. It has a young and sometimes rambunctious energy. And this is the using intellectual ideas and arguments to kind of cut through. Yeah, it can be quite a truthful card as well. It's not just the spy in the camp. So what it is, I think China's taking a very pragmatic approach to the world stage, where it's kind of swashbuckling on one level, waving the saber, but on another, using a little bit of charm as well. Yeah, this is quite a sophisticated and subtle approach for those that have not been looking, which is understandable, but they may be surprised at just how much impact China is making on the global stage. But look what comes back. Yeah, the real estate card, but it's come in the obstacle position this time. And what is one of the biggest issues that China has is its domestic real estate situation. They have allegedly so many cities that they've made that are not lived in. Up to the population of Germany. Ghost cities. So I think up to the tune of 60 million, which is approximately the population of the entire population of Germany. So they've got this real estate issue, which they're obviously trying to fix. Next card here, King of Wands, the card of entrepreneurship, passion going forward. So I think this can represent Xi and his intentions to have a more this kind of more entrepreneurial approach on the world stage. Remember the old saying, folks, it's so true. You catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So they are looking at the world, but look who comes up. Stinky fish. There could be an issue here with the messaging. This is the message that China would like to present to the world, but there's something a bit fishy that's going to emerge and come out, which could derail, their plans. However, look at the outcome card. Whatever that message is, overall, because of this huge strategy that China has made, because think about it. Say things come out about Monsieur 19, as I like to refer to him. If China is building one of your bridges or major city infrastructure, are you going to be like, get out and leave now? No, you're not. You want your bridge built, don't you? So they're building in that kind of insurance. So this looks like this may potentially be a winning strategy for China. So watch out in the West. Anything else to add to that, ladies?
Julie in the comments says Steve Bannon's Oriental boyfriend was arrested last week, and he's going to sing for money laundering to get a deal about money laundering and trafficking. That's interesting. Remember when Steve Bannon was last arrested? He was on a Chinese billionaire.
Right, that's right.
That guy.
Yeah. Also, now that you mention that, what a lot of people may or may not know about a certain Elon Musk. Elon also has very strong connections to China and is very pally with them. So the guy of free speech, yeah, is literally, I watched this MSNBC special or whatever, and they spent half an hour going into this, and he just did the guy, I can't remember what he's called, but the Muslim guy who's the reader. I can't remember what his name's just gone out of my head, but he's British and American, and he just did a big expose on it, and you can see everything that Musk is doing, because they give him preferential treatment as well on all of his factories, all of his Teslas. So all this free speech in a country, as we know, where free speech is not such a big thing in China. You know, China's got many virtues, but free speech isn't one of them. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, are we ready for the next question?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, now this one, now we're flying back. We're going back to the United States. And Lena, I think you were looking at this, and Lady G, you may have looked at this as well. We need to talk about South Carolina. Yeah. So just to give everyone a little heads up, this was a March 13th story, so a few days ago. So here, 21 Republican lawmakers voted that women should get the death penalty for having an abortion. And they may even be looking at miscarriage as well. I mean, look, this law wasn't passed, thank God. But there were 21 justices or lawmakers or whatever that thought a woman should die. Anyway, so the question is, will this be adopted by other US states? But ladies, what are your thoughts on that before we pull?
Yeah. On the upside, New Mexico's governor is trying to get abortion enshrined as a constitutional right.
Wow.
So maybe instead of giving oxygen to will this awful idea roll on, can we look at just how women's rights will play out in the next couple of years? Can we do that?
Yeah. Let's look at that. Let's see how this will play out. What the energy of this?
Yeah,
because it's, for me, this is just.
Not only is it gobsmacking, the fact it didn't even make it through another news cycle is what's scary. It just got buried along with everything else.
Yeah. Well, and everything's going to be buried by the seaweed soon as well, isn't it? It's just, oh my.
Women's rights.
By the way, folks, we talk a lot about Gilead and all of that kind of stuff, but what's actually happening is they say by 2050 or thereabouts, it's the men that will be infertile, not the women. Yeah. Global sperm counts are plummeting, by the way, dropping since the 90s. All right, South Carolina. Energies.
Oh, these cards. Oh my God. Will I go, Hogarth?
Go for it.
Okay. These are epic. Out of 5 cards, 3 are major arcana, because this is a big topic. So it starts with the Hierophant and the making of these laws, and this could go both ways, upholding women's rights or, enforcing terrible laws. So it's both those things in a way. Particularly as they are currently, meaning the GOP, allied to the devil, the patriarchal devil here. Okay, so they're doing these things as fast as they can with the Chariot. They're not drawing breath. What hideous thing can they come up with overnight with these really Old Testament responses to modern life? You know, they're going gung-ho. But this will leave them out in the cold at the next election. One would hope that that's what this card is saying. And the Lovers card bringing back some balance between all the genders as we have now, as opposed to this demonizing of women with this Devil card. You know, I'd like to think of it as the death throes of toxic patriarchy. But that's not to say we can't have to be vigilant at all times.
Yeah, indeed. Too many crazies out there. And
So
Lady
many
G,
crazies. And I think they have to be called out as fundamentalists, which is what they call evangelicals. Sounds like angels. No, they're fundamentalists. And they're Old Testimony types.
Yeah, definitely. Lady G, what do you have?
Okay, well, underneath of it all, we have, you know, unhappy with what's coming down the pike from some of the government things, and we need to get some stability, big emotional issues that need to be worked on. So what we have with it going into it, now I'm doing this a little differently. The overarching thing is looking deeper and looking at the strength of these, you know, heinous things that they're doing and that they're trying to hide and push through. So we don't have a lot of pentacles in this one, but a lot of emotional issues, you know, wanting to share. Is it toxic or is it beneficial? Trying to keep a lid on some of this. A lot of new things coming out, looking at the past and what's being offered up with their fishtails. Okay. So we have to be vigilant with it. Feeling a bit tied up, and really, this is a painful thing that we're going through. So we need to focus on our energy going forward, seeing what direction we're going to do, and we're in for a fight with it. Okay. Yeah. So it's just saying, you know, we have to be vigilant and watch the kind of nonsense they're trying to slip in unnoticed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so extraordinary. The times we live in, they're really just eye-popping what happens in politics now.
Yeah.
And things, something that would be a story for you know, a good 3-4 days just becomes the next thing under the bus because of, you know, the cray. So the cards that I've got, well, thankfully they're a bit different this time.
Good.
If we look here,
did you shuffle them this time?
Yeah, I've been shuffling, and then, you know, but there you are. That's how spirit works, isn't it, with the messages? But here we have got what's this? The 9 of Cups. The 9 of Cups. So this can be what? The smug merchant. This is talking about, for me, this establishment, you know, certain smug people that are just like, we don't care what happens to women. They must be subjugated at all costs. And if they have a termination, they need to be put. I mean, this is just so utterly ridiculous. Put on literally death penalty.
It's barbaric. It is just beyond barbaric, and people are just.
It's beyond, exactly. It's what we're seeing now being put forward in mainstream politics will make the Taliban blush.
Yes.
Blush.
Look.
Honestly,
Exactly.
and then not even they are coming out with craziness like this.
Yeah.
You know, let alone getting accidentally pregnant or abused or, you know, whatever. They're even were considering it for miscarriage as well. It's just like, oh my God, why not just line people up and just shoot them? It's just more honest. Like, why don't you just say, anyway, whatever. Here they are in the obstacle position. Look, they're coming out with their BS message here. We've got the false knight. This is all this messaging is to please these benefactors, these donors, a lot of these billionaires or multimillionaires that donate to these political parties because they've got some old school, like you said. It's beyond Old Testament. It's even with the worst bits of the Old Testament cooked together in a cauldron and a chimera of something new. But they're trying to please their donors, and they're coming out with these crazy messages. It's just absolutely outrageous. However, in the middle, could we see women fighting back? We got the Queen of Wands here. So again, this is the lady of communication, bringing things together, has an entrepreneurial quality as well. But this is a woman that also uses her intuition as well, hence the black cat. So I think there will be a significant pressure and pushback, you know, on these things. But also as well, that it's also a kind of a call to action in many ways to women, because essentially you've got lawmakers saying, we want to kill you. You know, that's, I don't know how else.
How clear does it have to be?
Yeah, it's extraordinary. Here's the moon. Yeah, showing all the madness and mishigas of everything. I mean, literally, we are talking like lobster telephone type kind of politics now. Wolf and dog howling at the moon. This is howling at the moon politics, quite literally. It's crazy. But also as well, the moon deals with the female reproductive cycle as well. Hopefully the fever will break, and then eventually we may move on from stuff like this. But we are in a particularly toxic, febrile, you know, this Pluto in Capricorn that I've been talking about, which is government, dark night of the soul, the worst humanity can do. It's just
and look, they get away with it because no one actually enters the discussion with them, you know, right? So for example, having worked in the equivalent of Planned Parenthood in Australia, family planning, many women who come for terminations are married women with children, right? I've said this before. Yeah. They're the ones who know exactly what's involved in having, and that they've already got an 8-week-old and going, oh, whatever, right? So if you take this point of view that women should be killed, you'd be killing a mother of 3 because she had a termination. I'm just saying that they're not ever put on the spot about their hypotheticals, you know, because they're all about the Madonna and the whore, you know, the perfect mother and the other woman, you know. So there's no real conversation to test this out for a second, you know. I'm pro-life, so I can do anything, including kill people. Okay, how does that work?
It's astonishing.
How does that work?
Indeed, and like when you make with that point, if the majority of women seeking a termination are already mothers, then you'll basically be killing people's mothers.
Yeah, because you're right. You'll show them.
It just beggars belief. Like some of the things that we cover on this show, sometimes I really do think to myself, oh my God, did this really happen? Is this really happening? It's like Rosemary's Baby. It really is.
Yeah,
it's just
so Rosemary's Baby meets Handmaid's Tale, all of it. Yeah. And we've got to find better language to be provocative back to them. We haven't come up with
the good enough put-downs. Indeed. Are we ready for the next question? Because time is ticking on. All right, now we're gonna take our aeroplane to Russia. Yeah, and we're going to talk about Putin. Yeah, Putinshka. Now, for those that may or may not know, Putin has been officially charged with, he's been charged with war crimes by the International Criminal Court, along with the Minister for Children's Rights, who's called Maria Lavrova Belova.
Forgive me if I love that name, not the woman.
Name. So I thought we should ask Shakespeare what he thinks on this one. But the question is, what, if any, impact will this have on Putin? Yeah. They say he won't be able to travel.
He can't go to 133 countries now because of the risk of arrest.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is bizarre. Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting. Who's ready to go?
I can go. I'm using my Italian cards. And one is your friend and one is your enemy. I can't believe in a whole deck I got friend and enemy side by side. I mean, that's kind of weird, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so the friends and the enemies are dead or want him dead or consider him dead or whatever. Like, he's got no real friends left.
He's got frenemies.
Frenemies, yeah.
Yeah, frenemies.
Yeah, exactly.
Happy to your face and got the knife in your back.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got no one left. But because he's a narcissistic sociopath, he's still got enough ego left. I think he's running on ego, if you know what I mean. He's certainly not running on anything sensible. So it's only about that. And that he still thinks he can get away with it because he's only got yes people around. He still thinks he'll get away with it. But those first three cards, no one is going to be sending him invitations to anything.
Gosh. Wow.
Wow.
Lady G, what do you have?
Well, at the center of it, I think he thinks that his wealth and things are going to insulate him. But coming into it, we have his deeds and facing the losses that are coming. The challenge is maintaining power, continuing to be in power. And of course, clarification, he doesn't want to take it in, doesn't want to believe it, doesn't want to see what's coming. Underneath of it, he's in his illusion when it comes to being able to go forward, because this is going to wind up hanging him up. He's going to find out this is a bigger burden than he knows when it comes to holding on to power in Russia with the people, etc.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, the cards also echo. And I've had more cards return again, but slightly different this time. So look here, just like what you got, Lady G.
Yeah, burden.
This will burden him, actually. He's going to shrug it off at home. Look, they're not even going to discuss it in the media, most likely, but he's going to try and shrug it off. But really, inwardly, Putin's like, oh man. Because when you're a leader and you can't travel to 127 countries or whatever it is and lose change, because the second you hit their tarmac, you're going to be arrested. You do have to think twice about these things. Can be a bit of a burden. Now, Russia is a huge country, so he can travel wherever he likes within Russia, but we all know that that's not really where he wants to stay. So he is going to be actually burdened by this. The victory card comes back again, but this time in the obstacle position. So remember, for China, it came out at the end. It could be a win for them. But this one is saying maybe the opposite of victory. Because when we look here, it's one. So hard work, and it's kind of a bit of a... So this could be ending up contributing to a bit of Putin's losses overall. Will he lose sleep over it immediately overnight? Probably not, because as long as he doesn't leave Russia or he goes to a nation where he can't be immediately arrested, he'll be fine. But it's bound to affect his confidence. Look who's back. Stinky fish. Yeah. So, of course, this is a bit of a stinky message for old Putinescu sauce, isn't it? Because this guy is just getting bad news from every corner. The war's not going well. Even his mercenaries, it's not kind of working out. The body count just keeps increasing. Now he's being, put forward for war crimes. It's just one bad message after another. This could also mean maybe some more surprising messages that may even come out from Putin himself. Yeah, so he might pull out a few stinkers. But then, look, we have the devil card. Yeah, so you see the synchronicity happening as well between the cards. But this shows his state of mind. Look, we all know what he's about. He's just an evil, you know what. However, his outcome card is the strength card. So he's going to be digging deep. But because we're talking about someone who's such a nefarious character and it's come next to the devil card, this is not speaking of the virtues. The shadow side of the strength card can be bestial motives, yeah, impure thoughts and just not being good. So it's not looking good. It's not looking good for him. Anything else to add to that, ladies?
Yeah, and I don't think we'll ever see him in a tribunal. I think he's much more likely to use his own exit strategy, shall we say that, if it really gets to that point.
Yeah, indeed. Or he just goes into exile in Russia somewhere. Russia's an absolutely massive country. And thank you, Hawaii Bound, as well, for your donation so much. Thanks for that. And talking about the oceans, of course, looking after the oceans. Okay, so.
Oh, sorry, just another comment on the oceans from Lois, who's a marine biologist. We all need to be aware the ocean's phytoplankton provides more oxygen than the rainforest or anything else. So we need healthy phytoplanktons.
Yeah. It's huge. It's like it's just so epic. But this is the beginning of that Neptune in sidereal Pisces. Yeah, look at the timing. Moved in February 22nd. Here we are, less than a month later, and we're talking about a giant plume of seaweed wider than America. So this is real, folks. We're going to be talking about this. Okay. This is questions coming from Julie Guleff, and this is things in continuation with the banking, but this is quite a personal story here.
Hi, Julie.
Hey, Julie. So she's written, hello, Hogarth and everyone. With the recent bank collapse being downplayed, she's put in brackets, it is being downplayed. Will there be further reaching repercussions to other financial institutions? So we've begun to see that already. But she adds, just this week, my bank account was hacked and funds stolen. I'm so sorry to hear about that. But she adds, I was told by my bank that all fraud must be paid before any action to return my loss will be taken. Before any action to return my loss will be taken. And this is just the way of the world and new banking regulations. This is what she said, allegedly she was told. Very disturbing given the recent bank collapse. So what she's basically saying is she's become a victim of fraud, and she's gone to the bank, and the bank are just like, well, unless you basically top up with new money, we're not gonna reimburse. That what it seems to be saying, which is just absolute lunatic stuff. But
really craziness.
I know, I've never some of the stuff, I must say, that my clients tell me and things I learn in the comments is absolutely shocking. And is basically banned in other countries. Yes. So let's look at that banking. Yeah. No. Can you imagine?
I can't. As an Australian, I can't imagine that. And particularly as I know Julie Hunt, who is a veteran's widow recently, and she's fighting the good fight for other people all the time. So I'm sorry to hear this happened.
Yeah, me too. It's really devastating.
Sorry, what's that question?
So let's look at the energy of the widening. Will it reach other financial institutions? And as well, just bringing in a question from DMS. Will there be actual accountability, criminal charges to claw back bonuses, compensation, etc. from Silicon Valley and other bank executives, as well as the representatives from both Republican and Dem, so it's quite a long one, and who voted to deregulate, especially Barney Frank of Dodd-Frank, who took 1 million. Oh, I missed the rest of what was that on the printout. So let's look at this. Will there be contagion and accountability? Let's just say in this new, fresh banking situation. energies around the thinking.
Oh, I don't know what's happening here.
You getting mixed messages, Lena, in your cards?
Yes, yes. Well, I just go on because we can all sort of think about what it is. Okay, so in answer to the contagion, yes, because everybody's connected to everybody else, and yeah, 8 of Wands. People are seeking a deal, and others aren't. You know, no prizes for guessing which side of the fence is doing what here. But this is an emotional issue. So back to Julie's story, this is the Queen of Cups. So I think individuals will be emotionally impacted by this. This isn't a Pentacles card as such. It's an emotional card. So it will be very stressful for people. But my outcome card was strength. So hoping they'll put more guardrails up. But again, I'm not hearing the Dems doing those fabulous sound bites to say, vote for this now, right now, and why aren't your people voting for these things? Mm-hmm. And I'd like to make one more point before I yield the floor. And a viewer pulled me up after my last video, and I'm glad she did. And she said, we've got to change our language. Words are important. Instead of saying more regulation, GOP hates that. You call it protections. There needs to be more protection for people, not more regulation for the bank. And it changes the language. And it's true. And we need more environmental protections rather than regulations on farmers and big business. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to thank Eagle for that point. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Very good point. Lady G, what do you have?
Okay, well, going into it, we have wanting to move this in another direction, create another storyline because it's not looking good going into it. Mm-hmm. And we have to look at the documents. We have to look at what they're doing, bottom line, because we have a lot of fireworks with this now. And we have messages going forward that are, you know, not the best. Okay. We have the crafty messages, kind of the con, the drama. So we really need to look at the books. We need to look at the foundation, the promises, and what the strength of the situation is, you know, that we're struggling with now. The challenge is the health of it, to be able to get people to move forward, to, again, have something that's beneficial. And at the heart of it, we need to look at the health and the situation of where we're living with this and shed light on it. So they need to start to get real about it and not put out false information and drama, and really start to take better measures.
Yeah.
So agree. Yeah, they need to do more protections and things rather than just trying to create some new storyline.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were there, and then they were repealed by the...
Exact. By guess who?
Yeah.
Indeed. And
yes,
before
our favorite president ever in the history of the United States that's done more for everybody.
Just a marvel.
Indeed. And before I read my cards, and then we've got to quickly move on to Dr. Larange to close the show. But on a more light-hearted note, Judy McNeely has said, the Kardashians will figure out a way to make the seaweed blob a bluety fashion statement. So, you know, algae can be good for the skin and what have you. But this story that we're mentioning now, this has got long legs on it, folks. This is gonna run and run and run, and it's probably gonna peak in July. So I'm sure we will revisit the cards that I get in terms of the banking before we close with Dr. Larange. Look at that, the time has gone so quickly. So if we look here, the Emperor. Yeah, so of course this is talking about patriarchal power and establishment. Yeah, the old boys club. Yeah, it's the old boys club again. Allegedly, well, they say allegedly, what it's actually been reported on the news that these people who are Silicon Valley Bank, they all got their bonuses and pulled out all of their money just before the whole thing collapsed. Yeah. So that's, you know, typical, isn't it? Typical. Page of Swords is back, but this time in the obstacle position. They're not going to be able to squash these stories anymore. There's that spy in the camp that's basically, look, already that story's come out. Previously, these stories wouldn't even be surfacing on the news. If we think 2008, we would know remarkably little about the players. Now we're finding out more. Yeah, people aren't going to stay silent as they did before. We do need protections because there's been too much foolishness and folly. Yeah, removing the guardrails so that the greed is good culture can come back again, and guess what happens? It all falls down. One thing I will say though, in their defense, we do also need to understand that the Federal Reserve or whatever has significantly increased the interest rates, which of course affected the assets of these banks, which also stimulated part of the problem that we have now. So we can't blame them entirely. There needs to be more balanced money policy in general. We need what? Calm, sane, rational heads. Good and clever, intelligent legislation or guards or protections. Yeah. And of course, the industry is feeling embattled, and they probably will continue to feel so for the next few weeks as these things ripple out. Okay, shall we move on to Duck L'Orange?
Absolutely, and people are asking for the bard to speak also on Duck L'Orange.
Right, we'll have the bard for Duck L'Orange. How perfect.
Indeed, indeed. Right. So this story almost needs no introduction, but as we know, Duck L'Orange has wailed, "They're coming to arrest me. They're going to drag me away on Tuesday." Yeah. And this, of course, has created a tremendous amount of interest. Now, what I want to say is this: I do not trust Duck L'Orange as far as I can throw him. Yeah. Will he or will he not be arrested on Tuesday? We have to see. But obviously, he's trying to, get his goose cooked right now. So he's already saying, "Rise up, everyone, rise up, defend your country," and all of this kind of stuff, as you can expect. But also as well, what I want to say is a little bit of astro weather. Remember, I was saying the eclipses are coming up on what? 20th of April. Now, the energy of the eclipses starts a month before they actually happen, month or thereabouts. He will technically be arrested on Tuesday, 21st of March, which puts us into that window of the eclipses. So these eclipses, like I said, are dealing with Duck L'Orange. They're also dealing with Putin, with the war, with everything that is going on. Yeah, there's all of that stuff. So keep watching this space, and of course I'll give you guys more information about that. But he is now part of that eclipse. So we're going to learn things that we didn't know before. Yeah, he's in that energy. That's why I said he has to be indicted before the eclipses happen. He's not quite indicted yet, but if they arrest him and drag him in, that's good enough. Anyway, so what I wanted to ask is, where is the question? Will this weaken Duck L'Orange or make him stronger?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's keep our powder dry, folks, and not get too excited. Some people have been talking about dancing in the streets already. Never underestimate this reptile. Yeah, like I said.
No, and he'll go for an appeal and all of that. I mean, but symbolically, it's massive.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And if anyone's not had a chance to see it yet, but I've said before, accountability. You watched that video, didn't you, Lena? And I said accountability will be the big theme of the next 2-3 years. Will this make him weaker or stronger?
What's that? I'm going to clarify.
Can hear you muttering away, Lena. You're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got some. Who's ready to go?
Do you want to go, Lady G? I'm still working my.
Yeah, I was just pulling my last ones. So going into it, you know, he wants to try to hold on to his position of power. As usual, he's going to use this to create a doorway to a new storyline. As usual, you know, ever the victim. So he's going to, again, look at going forward, the energy going forward, and the path when it comes to his dealing with community. So we have already heard him out there starting his rhetoric about, you know, I need to hold on. This is the path. It's an end if you don't. That's his conversation. It's all ending if you don't come out and protect me. So the challenge is keeping the lid on these things. We're having the darker conversations, and we're looking at the promises, the things that are coming. And the clarification is he's in the struggle, eating away, and he's going to try to eat away at his, you know, his cross to bear, so to speak. So he's going to try it, but it's not going to aid him. Okay. But he's going to give it the old college try, you know.
Right. Well, that helps me make sense of mine too, because the first half of the spread, okay, we have the death card, not good for anyone's career, I would have thought, you know. The Hierophant, the court's coming down on his sorry lily white buttocks. Okay.
I got the Hierophant as well.
Right. Taking significant losses, you know, with this 5. And then it sort of hinges. The Devil card, well, luck of the devil, you know, it's like that. And is he even, you know, the devil himself and others chained to him who will support him, meaning his followers. So I think rather than him being influenced, I think this is him on the satanic throne, because he will always have some followers. He'll think he's Christmas and just arrived. This is the victory card. And fool's gold. So in other words, I think he will, in the big picture, lose a lot of momentum and stuff in the national scheme, but he will have his followers. And as we know, there's no cure for stupid.
And looking for the next grift.
We
need money.
I need more of your money.
Exactly.
Yeah, that could be the next grift. And it could even be the fool's gold, you may even have a few people that may, I think a few people will turn up in New York, even just for the spectacle, to be part of something historical. Do you know what I mean? So I think there'll be people there. How much violence there will be, I don't know. But because it's such a spectacle, some people are just going to turn up for Duck L'Orange because it's also a day out, and they'll go shopping in TK Maxx and have a burger and stuff like that and go home as well. I'm not saying, I don't want to be too flippant with it because we don't want it to be violent and stuff like that. But it's such a circus. You will have people that will show up for the sake of showing up.
And I think just before you get into it, a lot of his supporters come from regional and rural areas and stuff. Won't be that comfortable in downtown Manhattan. You know what I mean? That isn't their stamping ground.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Okay, so what are the cards that I get? Very interesting. Here we are. Hanged Man. Yeah, so this is him literally in a state of limbo. He is worried about this. You know, he knows enough that it's more of the doorways, the other doorways it opens to other cases. I think that's more what Duck L'Orange is worried about, because in terms of prison time and stuff, remember what you got to remember is this guy is going to throw absolutely everything at this. We know he's a reptile. He may not have a classical education, but he knows the court system. Let's not forget. We can't deny that. This guy has done the most frivolous litigations that anyone has ever done on face of planet Earth. And he's learned from the most invidious and conniving characters possible. So it's not done yet. Don't dance yet. Wait for the orange jumpsuit. And when we're trying to work out where Dr. Larange's chin ends and his suit begins, yeah, then we can celebrate. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, but here he is in limbo, having to change his perspective. Look, as always, look, he's speculating. He's always how can I turn this into a grift? Yeah, here he is. Machinations, making plans, but it's come in the obstacle position. Maybe his usual plans won't work, but he's always looking to see how he can call to action, make a grift. Yeah. But look, things start moving at a pace. 8 of Wands. They're going to be out of his control. This is going to lead to a momentum and a tower moment with
Trump
the
tower.
Government.
Oh, I love
that. So he's going to try his best. He's going to try his best. But really, I feel like this court case is literally going to be a bit of a... Yeah. In terms of, because what it could do is, if he's indicted and he's charged, he loses control of the narrative. And that's the important thing. He loses control of them. Will this be the end for Duc Larange? I won't believe it until I see it, actually, because he's just too conniving. But the accountability, at least, seems to be beginning. Let's see what Tuesday brings. Ladies, what do you have to add before we close? We've gone way over.
I say this is the first of the dominoes to start following.
Yeah.
Falling. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're on their way.
And Lena, what would you like to close with? Oh, and we need to ask Shakespeare as well.
Yeah, totally. I think we just need the bard. Go for it.
All right. Okay. So, Lady G, I think it's your turn.
No, it's Lena's this time.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. This is on Duc Larange himself, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Stop.
What's this here? Oh my God. Okay. So this is what's coming in. So this is coming from As You Like It. And it says here, chide God for making you the countenance that you are. So it's almost like, I mean, that's pretty strong, isn't it? I mean,
yes, chide God, meaning tell God off.
And here, if we look at just the page before, because it ended here like this, yeah, but there's nothing here. So when we read the back page, and this comes from Henry VIII, it says, his curses and blessings touch me alike. Their breath I not believe in. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that food for thought?
Isn't that interesting? And I feel in many ways that's the even more pertinent one.
Isn't
His
it?
curses and blessings touch me alike. Their breath I not believe in. So because some people really do see what Trump as some messiah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't believe anything he says, good or bad.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't believe anything he says, good or bad. Fascinating, that, isn't it? See, the bard is giving quite a multi-layered response, but I find that very interesting. His curses and blessings touch me alike. Their breath I not believe in. Henry VIII. There we go. Folks, it has been wonderful. We've gone way over. The time has gone so quickly. We had almost 1,400 of you join us tonight. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the donations, your questions, and the support. Ladies, thank you so much for, again, with your gifts and talents. And we will see you all next week. All right.
Absolutely.
Bye for now, folks.
Ciao, everyone.
Bye-bye.